Well, hello, ladies, and welcome to our in between rounds chat. This is week 9, and more importantly, we are away from the end of the year. So I will just give you one little second to allow you to get on here. But I really am here today to remind you that the year isn't over. So I don't want you losing sight of your goals and the reason you're here. There is a lot that you can do in 4 weeks. So if you're someone who's feeling like you haven't reached your goal, or maybe you feel like you're not close, or maybe you're someone who did reach your goal and you set a new one, I just want you all to make sure that you're spending a bit of time right now to go back and think about your goals. Because this is the most important part of making these last 4 weeks successful, especially as things get busy. Because if you go back to your goals, then you can map out your path, because it really is just one thing to come up with a goal, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to achieve it just because you stated, I want to work out 4 days a week. That doesn't just happen. You need to have that roadmap or that path that's going to get you there. You need to, from today to point B, point A to point B, you do need a map. You need to, if your goal is that 4 workouts a week, you need to figure out, how does that look? How can I fit that into my schedule? How can I shift things to balance my life and make sure I'm reaching that goal? Because that is the most important part. That roadmap or that path to your goal is the big way to success. So, just remember that we all have different goals in here. I mean, some of us do have some similar goals, but we all have our sort of individual tweaks. And this is because your goals need to be important to you. Um, they need to matter, and that's how you're going to make sure that you're doing what you need to get there. Because it's really hard to stick to someone else's goals, because they don't it doesn't matter as much to you. It doesn't drive you. I mean, you might think it's a good idea and you might want to say, oh, that, yeah, I think I want to do that too. But if it truly doesn't resonate with you, it's going to be much harder to stick to. So if you feel as though you haven't um, been reaching the goal you set, this is where you need to think about, probably one of two things may have happened. You didn't create that map that will get you there, or that goal didn't matter to you. And I mean, that's okay. That's why I talk about revisiting your goals and tweaking them, because sometimes we do get an idea that something is important to us. And then as we set forward in that journey, we're like, actually, this isn't for me, or this isn't what I want. And that is totally okay. You can drop your goals and get onto something new if something else sort of um, speaks to you, or you're interested in something else. No problem at all. But it is important that whatever that goal is, and even if it changes, that you see yourself mastering that goal. So you see what it looks like in the end. And I want you to really, truly spend some time visualize that. Um, when you've achieved that goal, how do you feel? Because it's extremely helpful to imagine that, to visualize what that end goal really looks like, and how you feel, because generally you're going to feel differently. You're going to have that sense of accomplishment at the end, and that's really going to help drive you forward and sort of get you into that mindset of how hard you are willing to work to get to go down that path. Because let's face it, it does take a lot of work to get results. So by visualizing that end result, by visualizing mastering it and how you're going to feel, it's going to help you find out what you really need to be doing in order to get where you want to be. So if you are unclear of your goals, it's really difficult to map out your journey towards something that is unclear. So again, spend some time these next 4 weeks, but truly actually right away early this week so that you do have the time to improve on some of these things that you are doing and get back on track to the things you've let slide. And really, also, because you've all been working hard, it is important for these next 4 weeks that you also take time to be proud of the journey you've already made, because you have been working hard and things have changed. You've seen results. And I say the word seen, and that sometimes is hard because you may not see physical results, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. So that's why it's important to think about where you've come, where you started, and where you are, so that you can appreciate those changes. So the example I'm going to give you, if you're someone who had the goal of lifting 100 pounds and you wanted to do that by the end of the year, and maybe you're only at 80, but you started at 60. So please, please don't forget that you've improved your strength by 20 pounds. So doesn't mean you can't get to 100 by the end of the year or maybe shortly into the new year, but you've already seen progress and you've seen those results. So don't forget to pay attention to those things. Focus on what you've done, not what's missing from that sort of long-term goal. Another example is like if you've got a weight loss goal. It's really important that you change your eating habits. So similarly, I don't want you to focus on the treats that you shouldn't be having because they're going to delay you reaching that goal. Instead, I want you to focus on how you're going to feel when you put on those new jeans. Okay, I want you to visualize that end result instead of focusing on what you can't have. Focus on maybe you've made some changes already, whether they're big or small, they all matter. All right. And I know that there are a few of you that like just have a hard time setting goals. And if that's the case, just take a little bit of extra time to be really conscious and present of where you are right now. So some of these little things that you know have changed since you started the program. And I mean, maybe this can be part of your goal, just being more present with your fitness and where you're at. But that's going to be helpful just so that you can appreciate the changes that you've made in your lifestyle, in your commitment, strength gains, and then of course how you feel. There's a huge component of your mental health that I'm sure has made things are significantly different. So we may not always pay attention to that. So that's why I'm going to challenge you to just sort of like be present right now and think about those things, because I mean, society has taught us to measure success purely on physique changes, and things don't always show up visually or on the scale. So it's it's hard to let that go. I know that's been drilled in our minds for so many years, but that's not the only definition of success. Um, that is not something that is hindering your success or your improvement. So um, I guess I just need to, I'm here to remind you that your hard work has made a difference. Um, your health has definitely improved, your mental state. And to me, like the longevity of both of those are way more important than any, physical or physique change. Now, don't get me wrong, some of you do have physique or physical goals, and that's totally fine if that's your goal. But I want you to remember that that isn't the only measure of success. So to conclude, to help you make sure that you sort of reset with the goals you have, if you've lost your goals, take some time right now to reset some because we are so close to the end of the year, and it's really important that you take and break your long-term goals into small, achievable, and measurable actions. So measurable for sure because that's how you know if you're going down that roadmap that you created. So we're going to create that map and make sure you're visualizing that end result and especially how you're feeling at the end when you've mastered that goal, but how you're feeling throughout the journey, because that is also important. The journey is just as important as the end because we are all making changes. We are all working hard, and that is a huge thing to make sure that you are celebrating. And I just truly want you to make sure that with all the fun and the busyness that happens at this time of year, that you are creating that balance, because ultimately that's what we want for our life, is that balance between our busy lives and making time for ourselves and our health, and making at least a little bit of chunk of time where I am the priority. So let me know if you're someone who has a few questions. Take advantage of my help. So reach out to me if you're not exactly sure what your roadmap needs to look like based on your individual goals. I'm here to help you. Send me a message, and I can help make sure that you've tweaked that roadmap so that you can finish these last 4 weeks with a huge success, and of course, finish the year off strong. All right, I will let you go from here and have a fabulous, fabulous week. I will see you on the internet. Take care.